So with the Blake issue, I think that there's been a misconception or a misunderstanding of how that truly impacts law enforcement. I think that it does impact us from the standpoint of the individual user, the personal possession, because our Washington State Supreme Court has made 6950 401, which is simple possession, unconstitutional because it lacks the mens rea, the culpability factor in it. Yes, it is an easy fix to put knowingly possess. However, it doesn't change the fact that the drugs themselves are still illegal to possess. The other thing that they did change is they changed the penalties. So it's not a felony anymore. There's steps now, basically warnings and then misdemeanor. So it doesn't have the penalty weight that it used to have. However, for law enforcement, it's still a crime. It's still illegal to possess. It's still illegal to have. So we have statutory authority to seize that property. It's the court system and how they're dealt with that's different. And it is unfortunate that they took it away, because who it affected the most is going to be drug court. Because now you have people who, where before they don't want a felony, so they'll do drug court in lieu of doing that, in lieu of getting a felony on their record. Now what we have is people that are, if it's an infraction, if it's a misdemeanor, I'm willing to take that on my record versus, spending the 2-3 years to complete drug court. So I think that who it's hurt is it's hurt the user. It has done nothing. Blake has done nothing to the dealer and the supply, the whoever's supplying the drugs. They are still accountable, and there's still laws in place. Those laws, those felony laws, have not changed for the supplier and the dealer. So in JNET, that's what we deal with. That's what our focus is. Our focus is on finding source of supply, dealing with the people who are distributing the drugs throughout our communities, and holding them accountable. Now, when I say holding them accountable, I just mean that we investigate. If there's probable cause to arrest, we make the arrest. Ultimately, it's up to the prosecutor to charge and the courts to hold them accountable to that. But our position in law enforcement, or our piece of the pie, what we're responsible for, is investigating, establishing probable cause, and then making the arrest and sending the case to the prosecutor. So Blake hasn't really affected what we do in JNET as far as our ability to make arrests and investigate these. It made it a little more difficult for the plea bargaining side. So there's a lot of cases that we had overturned or just dismissed because we had cases that were possession with intent to deliver or straight up delivery charges, but because we entered into a plea bargain with them, they took a simple possession instead. Well, now all those cases are gone. So they weren't held accountable for any of that because of the Blake decision. But that's history, that's past. That doesn't affect how we do our job and how we investigate it. We're still able to utilize our canines to get alerts on cars and apply for a search warrant to get into those vehicles. So the idea of utilizing confidential informants and confidential sources to assist us in our investigations, it's changed a little bit because before we would be able to utilize a simple possession charge that someone wanted to get rid of, and so they would cooperate with us. Now we don't have that anymore because if it's a misdemeanor, they just don't seem to care that much about keeping that off their record. But we still are able to utilize them as confidential sources because they're still committing crimes. Their drug use is driving their criminal activity. And so they have other crimes they commit, and we're able to sign them up on contract and utilize them and help them work off those criminal charges, whether they be theft charges or driving charges. But we're able to work with them on those. So it really we've had to change how we do things a little, but it hasn't stopped what we're doing. You know, we're still working and we're still doing our job. The parameters might have changed, so we just adjust what we're doing and work within the parameters that the legislators give us.